Okay, let's begin. Let's do some terminology to begin with. SQL or SQL, it stands for Structured Query Language. You might see that written down on the exam paper. It's actually not a language. It doesn't have any loops and it doesn't have any if statements, no selection. It's just a series of commands. And really it's designed only to work in databases on data. So let's move on to the next one. So this is what we call a table. So let's just write down some of these words for you. So this one is a table. You'll need to know that. And each row that I've got here, so that row is in dark blue, that row is in light blue, and that row is very faint. You can barely see it, but I've got 3 rows there. Those rows are called records. So if you see the word records, it means a row. So let's just stick that there. A row equals a record. And a column, like first name there, last name, then age, and then in school. Those columns, they are called fields. So let's get this. So a column is called a field. In database terminology, so this is your terminology building up. Now, each field has to have a field name. Okay, so here we've got field names being first name, age, last name, and in school. They are all called field names. Every database needs one. Importantly, every column is of the same data type. So every field, every column has the same data type. And every row or every record has different data types, and really they just describe one thing or one item stored in the database. When you are in the exam, you will probably be given some information like Joe, Enid, in a table, blogs, Smith, 20, 15, false, and true. You'll probably be given some data in the table and you'll be asked to identify the data type that is there. Now, that is just something that you need to look at and have a stab at. So Joe is going to be of data type string. Blogs is going to be of data type string. And notice that, as I said here, the field has the same data type. So Smith is string, Enid is string. Moving across to age, 20, 15, could be strings, but better off they're numbers. But please do not write numbers. Let's go for that one. We do not use the word numbers when we're describing data at all. Do not use the word numbers. Use integer for a whole number or real for a decimal number. So they're the two things that you should remember. So if you're looking at this and they're asking you what data type it is, if it's got no decimal point, it's going to be an integer. Let's make that bold. And if it does have a decimal point, then it's going to be of type real. Let's make that red and bold. And finally, they will probably use F or T, or they might even use the word false or true, depending on what or how mean they want to be. But in this final column here, the data type of that is Boolean. So please don't forget that one. That is a data type Boolean is true or false. There are several other data types that they could give you. These are the main ones. They could give you date, they could give you currency. Say what you see. Think of it as catchphrase, and you'll be fine. So table is referring to the whole thing. A row is just one item in the database, one record in the database, and each record consists of fields of different data types. Each column is a field. It's headed by a field name, and that's going to be important later on in our SQL or in our SQL. And each field has the same data type throughout. The different data types there are string. Now we could also use another word. We're going to see that shortly in another video. It's either string or varchar, variable character. Do not put character and do not put text. And then we've got integer or real, and then we've got a Boolean data type being true or false. You'll be very unlucky if you see things that are dates or currency or anything else like that. These are the major data types which we shall look at. So that's my introduction to SQL and what a table is. Really, we need to be in a database now to try and see what we're going to do with that data and how SQL works.